The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences. I know we're usually talking about kids' cartoons and stuff, but there's going to be naughty language. Anyway, listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ink and Paint Club podcast for this week. I am your host, JD, and with me is the lovely Mr. Kyle.
I'm lovely.
You sure are. Lovely, beautiful, hairy man. Today we are going to be talking about the pair of Hellboy animated films, since the new Hellboy movie is going to be coming out here in a couple weeks. Figured we give these a look. I actually haven't watched these since they aired on Toonami back in the day when the original Ron Perlman movie came out. So it was interesting to say the least to watch these again for this review.
I thought you were reviewing these because Hellboy Day was on Saturday.
I did not know that.
Yeah. There was a big event out where I'm at where you could have met the creator. That guy's a little bit elusive, but I didn't have any money, and I don't really have anything to get signed, so I didn't go see him.
Well, alright then. Then I was planned all along.
That's what it seemed like, but guess it's a happy mistake.
No, I would have done this episode like around when the movie came out, but I've got next month booked up with other things, so we're doing it now.
Guess that works.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about the Hellboy animated films, Sword of Storms and Blood and Iron. And let's start with Sword of Storms. That was the first one I streamed the other night. So these are very much tied with the original Ron Perlman movie, because obviously you got Ron Perlman being Hellboy, you got Selma Blair being Liz, Doug Jones is back as the Fishman. Later on in the second movie, you got John Hurt back as the Professor. So all the movie actors come back and reprise their roles, which I thought was kind of nice, because I do think Ron Perlman made a nice Hellboy. I'm not sure how I feel about the guy from Stranger Things being Hellboy now, but I don't know. I plan to go see the new movie when it comes out.
It doesn't look that great.
I'm not jazzed. I think the way they had Ron Perlman's makeup, and that could be partially to do with Del Toro, and his creature design. I thought he looked a lot better. I don't like how this new Hellboy, I don't know how his face looks. I don't like that he has his hair down. It's this wet, greasy looking long hair. I just think it looks weird, but who knows? Maybe in the movie it'll look better in context. But so yeah, let's start with Sword of Storms, which I think out of the two movies I like better only because I was able to follow it a lot easier. It's a little more straightforward, I think, than the second movie.
See, it's looking at both of them side by side right now.
Mm-hmm.
The Ron Perlman one looks alright. It does look a little vanilla in a sense.
Right.
But seeing this one, it just reminds me of Gwar or something like that. Like a metal show.
Sure.
Of someone trying way too hard to be something. Just looks like a metalhead to me, a red metalhead.
Right.
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
I think, I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but
it's fine.
I think it's fallen into a lot of Hollywood's cliches in a sense. It's trying really hard to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Silly movie kind of look. It's got pop music in the trailer. Kind of what they did with what is it? Suicide Squad?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that a little bit.
And not only that, but the creator also really hates the Del Toro movies, and that kind of bothers me.
Huh. I really I definitely think the first Del Toro movie is better than the second one, but I think the second one's still fine. It's got Seth MacFarlane as a ghost man.
Yeah, I think I've only seen the second movie, and I liked it. It was alright.
Yeah. I think Hellboy was the first PG-13 movie I went and saw by myself. Because I wanted to see it, but my dad didn't want to see it, so I just went by myself. Because, like, I was 13 by then, so, like, I can go see it by myself. And so I did.
I don't even know what time it came out.
It was
2004 was the first one.
Yeah.
Wild, man.
Anyways. Yeah. So Sword of Storms, I feel like, is a little more straightforward than the second movie. Because basically it's basically about Hellboy deal with yokai in Japan.
Yeah.
Basically, this one professor finds this Japanese professor finds a sword, and he's possessed by a demon, and he's trying to unleash these two demons, Thunder and Lightning. And then Hellboy gets transported to yokai world and has to fight a bunch of yokai.
He gets the yokai watch.
He basically, I mean, there's basically an entire scene where he beats the shit out of a kappa. I didn't like that scene. It was funny.
I don't know. Like, these movies are weird because, you played the Amazing Screw-On Head.
Oh yeah,
and
I like that.
It's show. Like that. 100%. That's his style.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why it didn't get picked up, because that seems like it's so fucking labor intensive.
It's a lot of black.
Well, yeah. The thing is, he's got a really unique style, and no one else does that with him. And
right.
I think any artist knows, they always say don't shade with black. It's like the worst thing you could do, and that's kind of his style. It looks great.
Yeah.
But then you have these ones, and it's like a completely different style, and it's really odd.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of a stark contrast between watching Screw-On Head, which is like basically one for one his art style, and then watching these Hellboy animated movies, which are not really at all. I mean, they're his characters, but they're like not at all like the way that they look in the comics or anything.
No. And then the weird thing too with this was it's like the guy from Darkwing Duck, or the creator, was the one who he wrote it, directed it, all this kind of shit.
Tad Stones.
I find that very interesting, but I also did some reading, and they said that they had worked together on Atlantis as well, so they have known each other for a while.
Which I like Atlantis. I think it's a good movie. Yeah,
so this is like maybe the third, fourth project they've worked on together.
Well, that's cool. Your boy Tad Stones.
He's cool.
Yeah. I will say I really, even though like the designs for the characters in this aren't like 1-to-1 with the comics, which it's whatever. I do like the design for Hellboy in this, because I like when he has little tiny legs. Well, he's like this giant beefy upper body, and he's these tiny little stick legs.
I mean, that's kind of his character design in a sense.
I know. I like, because that's the one thing I was saying while we were watching the movies the other night, that you can't really do with the live action movies is kind of give him his really bizarre proportions. But I like in the cartoon that they can still like give him beefy upper body but tiny lower body.
Yeah, it's definitely more exaggerated in this.
And his giant fucking chin.
Yeah. I'd say this one's the better of the two movies.
I definitely agree. Like I was saying, I think this one's a little more straightforward. That could also be because we were watching this at 3 a.m. and I was kind of like fading in and out of the second movie. But it's literally just like there's a sword. It will unleash these demons, and Hellboy has to go stop them. That's literally the gist of this movie.
I didn't know that Hellboy was in Brawlhalla. That's interesting.
I think they're going to be putting him in.
Oh, shit. Yeah. This is like brand new news.
Yeah, like Hellboy, and I think like a couple other Hellboy characters are going to be put into that game.
Wild.
And he was in Injustice 2.
What an awful game.
Injustice 2?
No, I tried Brawlhalla. It is not fun. Anyways,
yeah,
I don't remember all that much.
I think for basically basing these off the movies, I think the designs of the characters all work pretty well. They're really simplified down, but I think they work. I mean, I think Hellboy's design is a good compromise between his comic designs and making him a little more simplified. They kept all the right elements. And I think all the regular people designs, like Liz looks fine, Abe looks fine. I did think that the professor in the second movie looks a little too young for what he's supposed to be, but it's whatever. And I think all the little monster designs they did in this were fine. They're nowhere near Del Toro's like craziness. But watching Hellboy just like bust his way through a bunch of Japanese yokai was fun.
Well, it's like, I want to say he had some influence in the monster design and stuff, but it wasn't.
I think Mignola and Del Toro like signed off saying, "Okay, this is we give our blessing to make these." I don't know how much input they actually had.
Well, it showed he had some bit in writing it.
Huh.
I don't know about Del Toro, but
yeah, Del Toro probably just like, I'll produce this, whatever. Here's a bunch of money.
Yeah. No, because it felt pretty close to his style as far as monsters go, but definitely not his style.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know,
like I said,
what else.
I think a lot of it's just like a good compromise between like a recognizable cartoony design and what Mignola's art style looks like.
I'm trying to think what else comic creator had like a comic first and then went into animation as well. As far as having compromise and whatever.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, I like this one. I feel like this feels more like a like it would have been like a 2-part episode of a Hellboy show. Because it's a little simpler and a little easier to follow. I think it had, because these are like an hour long. If there was like a Hellboy TV show, this would have been like a 2-parter episode. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't like try to turn Hellboy into a TV show and air it alongside like Justice League and all that stuff.
I feel like they tried to, but I mean, I don't know, like, it's a bad word.
That was the thing. Like when they aired this on Toonami, and it was like, I'm surprised they're airing this because it's called Hellboy, and they're saying the word hell.
Saying the word hell a bunch. Well, how much was it censored on Toonami? Was there a lot of blood?
I don't know if it was censored at all. Because I mean, there's not really any swearing. Hellboy says crap a lot. That's about it.
It's like his catchphrase.
Yeah, he says crap and they say Hellboy, but that's really about all that is in terms of offensive language.
Yeah, I don't remember it at all on Toonami, but that wasn't my jam back in the day.
Yeah, this was like towards the tail end, not before they made Tom 4, the one that looked like a box with a circle head.
God,
the awful Tom design. I think it was like right before that. But yeah, I remember them making a big deal out of it because it was like a 2-week event because they were going to show one week and then the other the next week. And they came out pretty much like the same year that the DVDs for these came out, so that was kind of cool.
I swear I remember seeing both of them at like Target long time ago, and I think maybe even getting them through Netflix when it was just DVDs.
Right.
But I didn't remember a fucking thing from them.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this one. I think it's I think if you're a Hellboy fan, this would be a good one to start with, I guess.
See, my only problem with this is both of them kind of bled into each other because it's kind of the same thing where it's like, oh, we're exploring a crypt. Oh, there's a giant monster. And for me, it's like, it's hard to differentiate the two movies other than the second one having like a really awful art style. Because it was the same, but it was like the budget was bad and there was a lot of iffy looking shit in it.
I see.
I think, at least. You don't think so?
I don't know. You and Nolan were saying like the animation quality like really dipped in the second one, and I guess
really
I just
did.
didn't see. I guess I just didn't see it, but
yeah. There was a lot of like weird shit. People's facial hair didn't look correct. They would switch around, or they would be looking at a way.
Yeah.
And the angle wouldn't be right, and yeah, I don't think. But the problem with it is, I feel like both movies kind of bled into each other because they're both going through crypts, both fighting monsters. It's just the other one had a Japanese flair to it. You can kind of differentiate it.
And I guess it kind of feeds into the whole, like, I feel like maybe these were like meant to test the waters and see like would a TV show like a cartoon series be something people would want if these had done better. Because I think like these two didn't do enough because there was supposed to be a third movie.
Yeah.
But it never got greenlit. I assume because these didn't do as well as they were hoping. But I guess in that sense, I can kind of see if maybe they're a little thematically similar because it's like, oh, it's just like it's Hellboy and the Monster of the Week kind of thing.
It's Hellboy versus Japanese monsters. It's Hellboy versus Transylvania monsters.
Yeah, exactly. Just doing shit like that. Yeah, speaking of, so Blood and Iron, the second movie that they made, Sword of Storms came out in 2006. This came out in 2007. This is where the reason I say that the first movie is a little easier to follow is because it's like a pretty straightforward narrative, whereas where Blood and Iron is kind of split up in like the professor having flashbacks to when he was younger and dealing with a vampire, and now he's old. Then there's bits where it's like present time and he's old dealing with a vampire. It just keeps going back and forth with that, and I'm like, I don't know. I got a little confused at some points.
I just didn't like it because it seemed like the main thing was the main witch or whatever, and then the witch gets killed like very early on.
Yeah.
And then like had another story with a fucking snake monster, and then
I was kind of confused about that. Where like, yeah, this vampire is like bathes itself, and it's like the whole story about vampires bathing in blood to maintain their youth or whatever. But yeah, like it's like built up that this vampire lady is like the main villain, but like the vampire lady gets staked, and then the main villain becomes this giant like iron snake statue lady.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. I guess maybe if I watch this one more time where I'm a little more awake, maybe it would be a little more obvious that maybe who's the actual main person, but I don't know. To me,
why. Okay, that's why
Yeah.
it looked familiar. It says that Cheeks worked on this.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay, because I do like Sean Galloway. I really liked his Spider-Man series. That makes sense that he worked on these. But now I just say it like that makes total sense now.
I just found a production blog, and it looks like it was written by Ted.
Oh, nice.
Each one is signed by him, but yeah, it was killing me watching both movies. I'm like, fuck, this art style looks so familiar, and I couldn't find anything on it, and there you go. Sean Galloway.
That totally makes sense. Which is weird, because I think I've seen him draw pictures of Hellboy, so I'm not sure why I didn't put that together earlier.
That's so fucking cool.
So I'm reading a little bit about this second movie. I guess this one's partially based on a storyline from the actual comics, whereas the first movie was a completely original story.
I was looking it up too, and they had a series of comics in this animated style as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a couple covers and stuff, which is weird calling it animated when it's not animated.
Yeah, I want to say at the same time, Todd Me Too McFarlane tried to do his Spawn animated, and it looked cool and everything, but I think whenever something's popular, he really tries to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, pretty much. So I mean, this one's, I guess, fine in the sense that it's got vampires and all kinds of like universal monster kind of things. But like just the back and forth between the flashbacks and the present day stuff, I found it kind of hard to follow, and like we were saying about like who the main antagonist is supposed to be, I guess kind of was a little confusing.
It was convoluted.
It was a little convoluted. So, I mean, I still liked it. I thought it was cool. I mean, I think it's just cool that, Hellboy has these little animated adventures, and I'm kind of sad they only made 2 of them. But, I don't know. I think if you're at least a fan of the Ron Perlman Hellboy movies, I think these are nice little companions. Any of you are just a fan of the comics, I think it'd be something you enjoy. Yeah. I mean, now the new movies come out, I guess it kind of could just be a little reminder of what came before it, I suppose. Something like that. I don't know.
We'll have shitty animated ones coming out too.
Yeah, Hellboy will get a Netflix series now.
I could see that happen.
You get a Netflix series, and you get a Netflix series.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of people talking shit on the creator, saying that he's selling out and stuff like that to Hollywood. Which, I mean, if that didn't happen like fucking almost 10 years ago, if it's now a problem,
it's like, why not? I mean, if Hollywood offered me like, here's $1 bajillion to make movies off of my property, I'm like, fuck it.
Just sign the checks over to me.
Give me that. I don't have to work another day in my life.
I don't know. There's a bit of integrity to it, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as I think as far as Hollywood has gone with the Hellboy brand, I think it could have been a lot worse. I mean, you got 2 movies directed by one of the more creative directors out there. You got 2 decently animated films, and he's been in a couple video games. I mean, it's not like they're really whoring him out that much, so...
I'm just kind of mad that a 3rd movie never got made, and then they left it on a pretty big plot twist hole sequel.
Yeah, like I feel like for years Del Toro and Perlman were like campaigning to get a 3rd one made, and it just never happened. And now we've got this new movie coming out.
Well, I guess that's like the fucked up thing in a sense. Kind of like the new Powerpuff Girls. Ron Perlman fucking loves that character.
Yeah.
And I know he's dressed up and done like Make-A-Wish shit as him. And I mean, that's like sitting in a makeup chair for like 6 hours and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was a little hurt that he was recast and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really say he got old or anything in that time frame because he already looked pretty fucking old.
And I mean, it's like, who to say you can't just do, like, it's been a few years since the last Hellboy movie. It's like, just explain that in universe, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they probably painted themselves in a corner with the way it ended, and...
Yeah, because it would have been, like, baby Hellboy Jr. in the next movie.
Some fucking Shrek shit.
Right.
Gotta throw babies into it.
Yeah, so... Who knows what could have been, but I plan to give this new movie a fair shake, just to see. If I like it, great. If not, then, well, I mean, I've got these 2 animated movies, and I got the original 2 movies to fall back on, so, I mean, it won't ruin my Hellboy experience, so...
I'll watch it just like I watch everything else. Am I right?
It's
up top.
So is there anything else you want to talk about with these cartoon movies, Kyle?
Kudos for them being made, I guess.
Yeah. Tad Stones and Cheeks getting work. They're good dudes.
I mean, it's cool in a sense, and it's kind of weird too, because they're not really kid friendly as far as the IP goes, but something like that, as far as like even Toonami, it brings in kids who would read the comics and stuff, but I can't really say now it's like a #1 seller. It's more of a cult thing.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It's like saying Savage Dragon has fans.
Fucking Savage Dragon. I thought about that in a hot minute.
Exactly.
Jesus.
So you think the general public was thinking about Hellboy before this fucking movie, or just the fans?
Oh, just the fans.
I'd hate to say it like that, but yeah.
I mean, they put him in Injustice 2 last year. Maybe that was like to build up hype for this movie. Like, oh, here's that character.
Was he voiced by?
It's definitely a for the fans kind of thing. But
what does he even look like? I need to see this.
I don't know.
It looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
He looks pretty much like the comic because he's kind of geometrically designed his face.
That's the thing. Like with Hellboy and Injustice 2, he really stands out against their other characters because he is pretty geometric.
Well,
he's really
just
blocky.
The way that's how his art is. But I mean, you have Ninja Turtles and shit in that game too.
That is funny. That can make Hellboy fight the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
That's fun. Oh, what a time to be alive.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, there you go, everybody. That's our 2 cents on the animated Hellboy movies, and I guess the Hellboy media franchise in general.
Watch the Japanese one and not the other one.
I mean, I think you should watch both of them, but watch the Sword of Storms first, because I think that's an easier one to get into. I think if you watch Blood and Iron first, it might kind of put you off. But Sword of Storms is like I don't know. I feel like Sword of Storms is kind of an easy way to ease yourself into it. But yeah, there you go. If anyone listening has actually watched these movies, we'd love to hear what you thought of the thing, and if you plan to go see the new Hellboy movie, what are you thinking about it, or how does it look to you? So go ahead and leave those in the comments for us. We like reading those things. And Mr. Kyle, I think that's about it for us today.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap, everybody. So, thanks for listening, and we will catch you all again next time.
See ya. See ya in hell.
Whoa.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch a new episode every week. Also be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Twitter so you can keep up with the show. Links are in the description. We'll see you next week.